It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook. Hey, I get it. You've worked really hard to build up your business, and it's doing great. So great that you need help now. The most important thing for your business is to hire the right people to support it. So how can you find amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. And with Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, Sponsored Jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. And it's one of the largest databases of job seekers, too, giving business owners access to a wide range of candidates. And one of the things I love most about Indeed is the job alerts feature. I get notified when new candidates apply. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. This is a Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 103. My name is Pat Flynn, and I'm here to say we dropping knowledge bombs in your brain today. I'll take it.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host, the Manny Pacquiao of online business, Pat Flynn.
Still using a copy-paste website? Break the template trap with Framer. Whether you're overwhelmed by traditional site builders or frustrated with cookie-cutter designs, Framer gives you the freedom to create a site that's professional, polished, and uniquely yours. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. It's free to start, allowing you to browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something on your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, parallax scrolling, scroll animations, looping animations, and much more in seconds. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting, generating starter layouts, and can even translate your entire site to any language. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts who are ready to help you take your business to the next level. I've personally used Upwork myself and can vouch for it. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Post a job today and hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help you grow your business. That's Upwork.com. Again, Upwork.com. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to session 103 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. I'm actually half Filipino, for those of you who don't know, and I actually just got back from the Philippines. I was at an event called Tropical Think Tank by Chris Ducker. It was an amazing event and went very well. And so that Manny Pacquiao reference sort of makes sense in that regard, but you know, he's much stronger, faster, and quicker than I am and would probably take me out in the first round, probably with one punch. But anyway, on to today's content. I'm really, really excited and proud to bring back our good friend Chris Ducker from chrisducker.com on today's episode for a number of reasons. One, I'm just, today's a special day for him, and I wanted to bring him on the show because we're great friends, and I wanted to announce here on the podcast, for those of you who don't know, that his new book, Virtual Freedom, an actual, it's on Kindle, but it's also a physical book. It's in my hands right now. It's called Virtual Freedom: How to Work with Virtual Staff to Buy More Time, Become More Productive, and Build Your Dream Business. So, of course, I'm giving him a shout out here to hopefully help him sell more books. And beyond that, though, I wanted to bring him on here to talk about his experience with hiring virtual staff and working with virtual staff, and also share my experience working with virtual staff and the things we can share, even if you don't end up buying the book. This is going to be very, very helpful for you. I share a lot of stories from my past, success stories and not so successful stories working with virtual staff, and the things I learned from that, about how Chris got started in this business, and really why he's doing what he's doing and why he published this book. Because in the life of any entrepreneur, he or she will eventually get to a point where, there's going to be a fork in the road where a person can make a decision to continue to do things on their own or to hire out other people. And for many entrepreneurs, including myself for a while, and Chris too, and he talks about this in this episode, we all have this, what he calls superhero syndrome, where we try to do everything ourselves. And if you choose to do everything yourself, especially when you get to that tipping point where you're growing so fast, and you're going to burn out. Chris talks about his burnout experience. I've almost burned out a few times. Or you can choose to hire other people and expand that way. If you choose to do nothing, and you either stay stagnant as a business, which we don't want to do. Of course, we always want to grow. But in order to grow without burning out, you're going to have to hire other people. And that's the point at which I am in my business right now. I've hired some team members, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit in this episode and in the future as well, because I've been working a lot with them. It's what's enabled me to create AskPat.com, for example, my other podcast, which answers voicemail questions 5 days a week. I wouldn't be able to do that on my own. I just couldn't. But as you can see, and if you've listened to that show, I'm able to provide more value to my audience by utilizing assistance. And not only that, but as a result of providing that extra value, I'm deepening the relationship I have with my audience. I'm also decreasing the number of emails I have to respond to. And I'm actually making money from that podcast as well. I have sponsors coming on board for that podcast too. And so, again, I wouldn't be able to make more money if I didn't spend money using virtual assistants and hiring out. And this is something we talk about, and a lot of the things you have to worry about and strategies to help you better the experience that you have with the people that you hire in the future. So again, congratulations to Chris. I'm just so proud of you, buddy. I was there in the beginning, as you know, working with you through this book, just all the Skype calls and everything. I'm just so proud to be a part of this. And I mentioned in the book, and I'm in the gratitude section, so I'm very thankful for that. I recommend you pick it up. My affiliate link for Chris's book is smartpassiveincome.com/VF. That's VF for Virtual Freedom. Now let's get right into the interview, and let's welcome Chris to the SPI podcast for the third time. What is up, Chris? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, brother. Good to be back. And I got to say something real quick right now. John Lee Dumas, I know he listens to this call. And back in episode 97, right at the end, he mentioned that he wanted to be your first ever three-peat guest. Do you recall that?
I do.
Right. Well, John, I got you beat. Sorry, a little bit of personal competition going on there between me and the Dumas. I had to get it out.
Well, are you ready to ignite? Sorry, John. Yes. We love you, John.
Yeah,
you're great. I mean, we were actually just talking right before this episode about how great that interview was and how much value John provided on that episode. So that's SPI podcast number 97 for those of you listening. And you know, it doesn't really matter how many times you've been on. I mean, you and John and a lot of other people here, I mean, you guys provide tremendous value. And I wanted to bring you back on today for a number of reasons. One, and first and foremost, you are coming out with a book. And I couldn't be more proud of you, Chris, because I was there when you had this idea, and then while you were struggling with the writing, and now all of this stuff happening so fast now that's going to be launched today. It is launching today. I'm just so proud of you, dude. So just before we start talking about anything else, just congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. And I obviously I give you a mention in the gratitude section of the book, because you're right. We are each other's sounding boards. Everybody knows that we're close friends and all the rest of it as well. But there are certainly, moments in the writing process where I needed more than just a shoulder to cry on. And you were there to help me out and give me suggestions and that sort of type of stuff. So thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Yeah, my pleasure. And when we talked in the previous episode that we were in together, which was 74, which actually you were in my office and we were recording that together, we were talking about the importance of these kinds of relationships. I mean, I talk about mastermind groups all the time. Jamie Tardy and I talked about the importance of mastermind groups in episode 98. However, what Chris and I have is sort of almost beyond that. We talk on Skype very, very regularly, and we just tell each other like it is all the time, and right. We do that in our mastermind groups, but there's just some connection we have here. Like the part of that title of number 74 was BFFs, like
right, yeah.
And we are. I mean, we go and we support each other. Chris, I bought 50 copies of your book because I want to see you succeed, and I'm going to be giving them away to people on my email list. So if you're not on my email list, that was a perfect way to get people on my email list, by the way.
I just yourself on the list.
I didn't even make that a real strategy. I just said that.
You should just buy more books. Just buy more books. There you go. There's a new opt-in strategy, direct from the mouth.
Buy Chris Ducker's book.
From the mouth of Pat Flynn, yeah.
No, but I'm going to be giving away, several copies to people who are on my list, and so
love it,
look out for an email. But again, I'm just here to support you, man, and I don't want to talk just about the book here, and if we keep talking about it, people are going to get sick of it. But I want to talk about what you talk about in the book, because we haven't really talked about outsourcing and getting hired help in quite a while here on the show, and I want to bring that back and even bring more to the table than we've talked about in the past. And so let's start with a problem that I had when I first started, which is a problem that all entrepreneurs have, this thing called superhero syndrome. Can you tell us about what that is really quick?
Yeah, look, I mean, I believe that ultimately every entrepreneur will get to a crossroads in their entrepreneurial journey where they will have to make a choice. It's as simple as that. You will have to either choose to break down and burn out, which I know you've experienced in certain ways, and I certainly have as well before, or go to the other direction and build your team. And this superhero syndrome that I talk about in the book basically states very clearly that if there's a way to save some money and do a task yourself, you'll do it. If there is a way to, work an extra 5 hours to micromanage the hell out of a website project, you'll do that. If the word recharge only applies to your iPhone, that is when you're suffering from superhero syndrome. And it is basically exactly where I was at the end of 2009. I was, at that point I had about 130 employees at my call center company, Live to Sell. And I was working 15, 16-hour days, 7 days a week, pretty much 7 days a week, not spending any time with my family. The diet was terrible. The exercise, what was that? You know what I mean? And I burned out, plain simple. And I hit that crossroads. That was when I hit that crossroads, that superhero syndrome crossroads. And I made the choice there and then that I needed to start removing myself from my business as much as possible. And delegation was definitely going to play a massive role in that entire goal. And so I set that goal up. 2010 was the year that I removed myself. I became what I wanted to be known as a virtual CEO. And by the end of the year, I had achieved that goal and I ended up hiring 8 people to replace me in the product. That's how thin I was spreading myself.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because you were running a call center and you're providing services for people who are understanding of the idea of having other people do the work for them. And here you are putting, 12 to 20 hour days in and burning yourself out. And, I felt the same way, even especially when I first started. And, I didn't have kids at that time and I wasn't even married yet, but I was pretty much married to the idea of hustle and doing hard work and as much of it as I could. And I remember getting challenged along the way, technically and mentally, and especially technically. Like I felt like I had to go and figure that stuff out on my own. I didn't ask for help right away. It took me a really long time, and I'm even still learning how to do that even better today, now 6 years later. But when I first started, I remember, and I tell the story a lot, like I remember setting up my WordPress site and that taking days to just get to a point where, okay, I could finally start writing. And then I remember putting an image on my page and it was on the right-hand side of the page. And I spent like 7 hours trying to figure out how to put it to the left-hand side of the page. Like I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to learn HTML and CSS. And I did. And, I figured it out eventually. And the code was probably the worst code to ever make that happen. It just ruined my site. And, eventually I ended up asking a friend for a favor to help clean all that up. But,
right.
I mean, that's just one of several instances of something just like that.
Right. And that's superhero syndrome right there. That's exactly what that is, doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. I had the same thing when I started my first blog. I bought a out-of-the-box premium theme for like $70 or something, and then proceeded to waste literally 3 to 4 days trying to customize it through changing tiny little bits of code and copying and pasting it. What am I doing? Pay somebody $70 or something? No, $150 I paid somebody in the end to fix it on Odesk. And they took them like 3 hours to fix all the mess that I'd created and get it looking the way I wanted it to look. So, massive lessons to be learned. But yeah, we're weirdos. Entrepreneurs, we're a strange bunch. And we like to think that there's nothing out there that we can't do. And the moment you sit down and you start working through exercises and seeing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis inside your business, you'll realize sooner or later that you are not running your business is running you. And that is a massive, massive brain drain right there. And it's just something that as an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be, handling on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, well, how do you get over the idea of having other people do the work for you? If you have Superman syndrome, it's really hard to just turn that off. And I'm still learning how to turn it off today. But, especially in the beginning, I just wanted to do everything on my own. And I think, there's probably a number of different reasons why people don't think of doing that. One, it's just the idea of spending money on something like that is different for people. Why would I hire somebody else to do it when I could do it myself eventually? Or for me, one of the things was just I need to do it myself. This is my baby, my site. Like I don't want anybody else to touch it.
Right. And who better to, to build your baby, to grow your baby other than the person that gave birth to it, right? So I completely understand that. And that's the entrepreneurial logical mindset, is that, we should do it all. And society has led us believe, this is the screwed up thing. Society has led us to believe that working those 15-hour days, 6-7 days a week, not spending any time with our family, but having a big bank balance at the end of every quarter is quote unquote success. I don't call that success at all. I just call that being stressed out, unfit, unhappy, and just unfulfilled. So, the moment you get to that point in overwhelm and you start breaking down the things that you're doing day to day, you can then start to really see what you're doing and what you should and should not be doing as the business owner. And this is exactly what I did at the end of 2009 when me and Urs, my wife, for those listening in, when me and Urs checked into a hotel here in Cebu for a few days between Christmas and New Year, and we worked out what we were going to do in 2010 to remove myself from the business. And I sat down and I just made 3 lists. Now, I didn't know at the time that these 3 lists was going to become ultimately the starting point of my entire outsourcing / delegation journey, which sounds a little ironic because of the fact that I had 100 plus people working for me already. But just imagine I was involved at every single area of my business, everything, recruitment, training, operations, IT, marketing, sales. I was doing everything. And so once I made those 3 lists, which have now become the 3 lists of freedom exercise that I've done with so many people, tens of thousands of people online, live, you name it. Once I made those lists, it was so obvious that I was doing so many different things that I shouldn't have been doing as a business owner. And it just opened up my eyes.
Yeah, let's talk about that list, because I remember when we did our one-day business breakthrough in San Diego, you had done this exercise, and it was one of the things that most people, commented about after the day was over. So can you run us through that exercise? Can you actually give us or give the listeners just tell us how to do it so we can benefit from it?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So what you do is you just sit down in a nice quiet place with your beverage of choice. There can be a cup of tea, a coffee, a beer, a wine, whatever.
Beverage is important.
The beverage is it's an integral part of the entire process. No, just get yourself relaxed and in a zone where you're going to do some serious thinking. And then you get a piece of paper or an iPad or whatever, draw a couple of lines down, creating 3 different columns, okay? And the first column, the list that you're going to create, is a list of all the things that you don't like doing. You hate doing them. You procrastinate doing these types of tasks. That's the first list. The second list is a list of all the things that you're doing day to day that you can't do. You talked about moving images from one side of the screen to another on a website, HTML, coding, graphic design, selling, all these different things that you struggle with. And even though your superhero syndrome is in effect and pulling you back, the fact of the matter is that you can't do this the way you want it done. And that's your second list. And then lastly, the final list, the third list, is by far the single most important one, because this is the one where you really have to think. This is why you need the beverage, okay? This is where you really need to plug in and get rid of that superhero syndrome and start thinking properly like a business owner. And this is a list of all the things that you feel that as that business owner, as the head honcho in Corporation U, that you should not be doing on a day-to-day basis. And the reason why that particular list is so hard to put together is because you might like doing some of these tasks. You might actually be really good at doing some of these tasks. And I look at somebody like you who, and I'm talking to you, Pat, not the gazillion people listening in, but I look at someone like you, Pat, who is great with Photoshop, who is a good little graphic designer when he needs to be and wants to be, and actually genuinely enjoys doing it. But the question is, for that type of task and for any type of task that is in this column, is should you actually be doing it as the business owner? Could your time be spent on more high-level tasks like coming up with new products or services, or spending more time with your 20% top clients, or at a conference, networking? Or could you just have more extra time to spend with your family? You know what I mean? So those become your 3 lists to freedom. I did them not even thinking about having that little title for them in late 2009. And it was the catalyst for me to fundamentally remove myself from my business by the end of that 2010, to the point now where I'm not working 7 days a week anymore, 16-hour days. I'm working 8 or 9 hours a day, Monday to Thursday. I have a 3-day weekend now, and I'm really proud about that.
That's cool. So let's recap those columns again. The first column, and you could even pause after you listen to this so that you can think about these things.
I suggest they do, yeah.
So the first column, Chris, you mentioned writing down, or if you're listening to this in the car or at the gym or something, these are all the things that you don't like to do in your business. Perhaps you do them and you hate it. When you're doing these things, you just despise the idea of doing these specific tasks. Now, how specific and detailed should we be, Chris?
As much as you want to be. Much as you want to be. I mean, there might be people that just don't like spending time on Facebook, but appreciate the fact that they have to be on Facebook because their audience is there, or their prospective audience is there. So instead of wasting time in putting together posts and then getting onto Facebook and, posting those status messages, get a VA to do that for you. And then you can head back later in the day and spend 5 minutes interacting with your fans on Facebook. You don't need to be in there with the nuts and bolts. That's just one particular task. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I utilize Facebook. I respect it for what it is and what it can bring for my business, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But I'm there because my audience is there, and I want to be with my audience and take the conversation away from the blog and the podcast every now and then. And Facebook is perfect because there's so many people there.
Right. I mean, you A, have to know where your audience is, and B, where they are, you have to be. You can't expect them to always come to you. You have to go to them sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's a very cool side point there. Okay, now second column are things that you can't do. Things that you might know that need to be done in your business, or you always feel like you're asking for help on, perhaps, that you cannot do yourself, or you really struggle with doing these things. Again, just you can't do it. That's right. That's what you write down there.
For me, graphic design is a big one. I try. Trust me, I try. But eventually I just gave up, and I can't do it. I'm just not good with Photoshop. I know what I want things to look like. My father was an architect. My mom was an interior designer. So I've been born and raised around stuff that looks very cool and nice and particular and everything. And I'm a very particular person to work with. I've even had graphic designers say to me they can't work with me anymore because I'm just too particular. Like move that 5 pixels to the left. That sort of thing, right?
I could see that.
So,
I could see that.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, of course you are.
No, but really, I can't see that.
you can, because you know me. I mean, it's the way I am. But I can't do it. I can't do graphic design. I just can't do it. Just like I can't code as well. I don't see the point in me even trying anymore, because there's people out there that have got far more talent in relation to those particular tasks and roles. And my skill set is helping my audience and working with my clients and that sort of thing. And that's what I should be doing.
Right. So, I mean, there's a few things here. Is A, understanding how much your time is worth and where that time should be spent. B is understanding, well, what are your strengths? And really focusing on those instead of trying to go against what you and your body and your mind are sort of meant to do.
Right.
And again, going back to Superman syndrome, you think you could do everything, but what are you good at? Do more of that. Outsource everything else. Okay, so pause. And then column number 3, this is the hard one. As a business owner, someone who is treating their blog or their website or whatever they have going on online as a business, these are the things that you should not be doing, that you perhaps even like to do and can do very well. And that's a tough one.
Really tough, but it's the most important one, because once you start getting rid of those particular types of tasks off your plate, that's when the real freedom comes. That's when the business growth comes and your business stops running you, and you then start again to run your business. And I've often, I was on another interview a few nights ago, and somebody asked me this question: why did you write this book? And I wrote this, and my reply was something along the lines of, I wrote this book because I want to bring calm to the entrepreneurial storm.
Nice.
And it's so true. This can do it. We shouldn't be doing everything ourselves as business owners. There are other people out there that can do this stuff for you. And that's when the freedom comes into play. And that's when you really start to enjoy what you do, because you're focusing in on what you do better than anyone else. And that's the key.
Or where you are absolutely needed. For instance, one-on-one interactions, which you could perhaps charge a lot more for. And then also understanding that these VAs, they're probably going to do a lot of these things much quicker and much better than you could yourself. Now,
absolutely.
Okay, so I have this list, or the listeners have this list ready. Boom, we find one VA, hand it to him, do all this stuff for me. Is that good or bad?
It's about as bad as it can get. You're setting up that answer, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Because you know how I feel about this. This is the effects of the super VA myth that so-called quote unquote experts or gurus, I hate that word, gurus have, online said that, that they're experts in outsourcing and whatnot. You can get one person to do everything for you. It couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, if you think about it very logically, and I know you've gone through this recently, Pat, with your house, right? When you build a house, you don't hire a head contractor and then he does everything. What he does is he then goes and subcontracts the electrical work, the plumbing, the bricklaying, the plastering, the roofing to people that specialize in those particular roles. You have to look at building your team in exactly the same manner. If you expect one person to be able to come on and save the day, you're in la la land. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Or if someone says they could do that, they're obviously not going to be experts at all of those different things.
No. I mean, there is no such thing as a jack of all trades, right? There really isn't. So the number one rule when hiring to build your team is to hire for the role and not for the task, unless you're actually hiring just for a task, right? So if you want a logo designed, you can go to 99 Designs or Odesk or Elance and find a graphic designer to do it. If you need a 15-minute video transcribed and then have that text turned into an ebook to give away as an opt-in magnet on your blog, you can do that. That's a one-off task.
Yeah.
But when you talk about real freedom, you talk about building a team. And if you need to do that, you need to focus on doing it role by role, very specifically.
Okay. Yeah, the one-off projects, I think is also a great place to start, because that's where I started, and that's sort of, as a superhero syndrome diagnosed entrepreneur, starting with the one-off projects was a great way to sort of ease my way into it. So, I wouldn't expect anyone to sit down and create this list and all of a sudden hire 2, 5, perhaps even 10 people,
right,
to just do all this stuff. I mean, you're going to have to ease into it, and of course, there's a learning curve as far as how do you communicate and talk to the VAs and how to work best with them and things like that, which we talked about in episode 20 back in the day. So if you want to listen to that, smartpassiveincome.com/session20, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, we talk about the hiring process and how to make the best of that relationship with your VA and how to treat them and how to communicate and how to keep track and all that stuff. So all the nuts and bolts there,
which, even though it was recorded, a couple of years ago, right? That is still so, it's evergreen content because, being nice to somebody, paying somebody on time, training them properly, not assuming that they're going to work perfectly out of the box. All that stuff is evergreen. So regardless of whether you heard that episode before or not, you can go back to that and devour that content right now and enjoy it. And it'd be quite funny to just go back and listen to that myself, actually.
Yeah, we should listen to it. I mean, I'd be interested
fun.
in listening to that too when we were just starting out as friends.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot less jokes in that one too.
A lot less goofiness, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, going back to I think I said Superman syndrome. I meant superhero syndrome. But going back to superhero syndrome, if you have that and you want to explore the idea of outsourcing, I believe starting with the one-off projects is a great way to do it. And I remember my very first experience, and actually this was back in 2008 when I had launched my ebook at greenexamacademy.com, started to make good money off of that, and then I got advice from people in my mastermind group to do an audiobook, to actually record the content of that book, turn it into sort of MP3 files that I could then sell on its own and alongside the current ebook I had. And I thought that was a great idea. It made complete sense. And so what I did was the first week, I recorded it myself. And I spent however many hours recording it, and it was the worst audio I've ever heard. Like, I recorded it on my Logitech headset that was meant for video games, and it was just super hollow sounding. And for some reason, even though I was reading, I was saying and and it was just terrible. I couldn't sell that. And I went back to my mastermind group, and I was like, guys, how am I supposed to do this audiobook? I tried recording it. I don't have the equipment. It's not working when I do it myself. And they started laughing. They were like, you tried to do this on your own? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you should outsource. And I didn't even know what that meant at that time. And they were like, go to the site. It's called elance.com. Put in a job. It's sort of like eBay where there's like an auction for people to work for you. So you share your job, and different developers and people, voice talents will come and say, I will do this job for this amount of money, and you get to pick the one that you like best based off of their portfolio and their feedback, and you can even talk to them beforehand. I was like, that sounds so cool. And so I put the job on, and I remember getting bids for like, I talked about how many hours or how many chapters there were and how many potential hours it might take based on how long I took to record it. And I started getting quotes ranging from, $400 all the way up to $4,000.
Oh, yeah. That'll happen.
And I was just like, okay, now I'm confused. I don't know what to do or who to go with. And then I just started to talk to a lot of them. And I think this is one thing that I did really well at the beginning was I didn't just hire the lowest price, which, I haven't, sort of side story. When I started my iPhone app business, we were so anxious that we did hire the lowest bidder, and we actually went through Elance, and that was a huge mistake. But anyway, I hired somebody that I spoke to, and I ended up having her record one chapter as a sample just to sort of listen to it, and it was great. Mm-hmm. And it cost $1,400, and that was more money that I ever spent in my life for anything. More than rent, anything. It was hard for me to part with that money because I couldn't imagine spending that much on something that I felt like I could potentially do on my own event at some point.
Right.
But I spent that money, and a couple weeks later, I got this amazing audio back, and then I sold that on my site. I had recouped the costs in 2 days after selling that.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. You see, this is about utilizing the talent that is literally at a click or two away. You see how I said literally there?
Yeah, if you listen to episode, what was it that you're in, 74, we say that word at least 100 times.
Different ways. Anyway, it's an inside joke. Some of you will get that joke because I know a lot of you tweeted us about that. But no, I mean, literally, you have, there it is again, you have, the ability to find amazingly talented, experienced, skillful people to do this work for you all around the world. And as an entrepreneur doing business in the 21st century, you're crazy. You are almost certifiably insane if you don't take up that particular business model when it comes to growing your business.
Yeah, I mean, it's been huge for me, and now I'm outsourcing a lot more. I'm even I'm hiring people to do things for me that I like to do and enjoy doing. And even though it was hard for me to part with those things, such as editing a lot of my podcast episodes, which, Ask Pat, that new podcast I have, it's, the only thing I do is record answers to questions. That's it.
And that's what you're best at. That's where you, as the business owner, Pat, should be focusing on, because people are sending in their questions to you based upon the fact that you are a thought leader, an extremely experienced, successful entrepreneur. That's what you should be doing. You should not be editing podcast episodes, right? It doesn't mean you can't or don't like doing it. The fact is you should not be doing it. And that doesn't mean that that's a menial job that should be outsourced, to somebody for peanuts, because I know you don't pay peanuts for it to be done. I know you pay very royally for it to be done, because the quality needs to be there, and you get a real person that focuses on that, and that's their role, and that's what they do for you, and that's exactly what virtual freedom is all about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and that's how I'm able to do a 5-day-a-week show. I wouldn't be able to do it without help.
It'd be impossible.
But here I am hiring help so I can provide more value. I'm having more people discover me, more exposure on iTunes, and as a result, my business's revenue is growing.
Love it.
And I'm making sure I treat my team really well. Like, I'll send them gifts every once in a while. Like, after Ask Pat was launched, I gave a gift. I just sent a gift to everybody. Like, I hooked up Matt Gartland, who's doing a lot of the producer role type stuff for me. I hooked him up with a whole brand new podcast setup.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That sort of stuff. That's you investing in your team and the relationships that you have with those individual team members. I love that. I had no idea that you did that. This is the first time you told me that. That's awesome. I love that.
And Mindy, who's doing my podcast editing, I sent her, how they have like these subscription boxes or gift baskets you can buy for people. Mm-hmm. I mean, she has cats, and so I sent her stuff for her cats, and she loved that. And then my developer, who's on the computer a lot, I got him these really high quality headphones, and because I want them to stick around. They're doing great work for me, and I want to thank them for all the work and hard work they put in. So just wanted to share that with everybody and give you a little insider on Team Flynn there. But, I want to shift to...
That's a podcast, by the way. That right there, and I'm sure everybody listening wants that as an episode. Talk about Team Flynn. Talk about what you do to work with your team and the way that you do it. That'll be a great follow-up to this particular session.
Yeah, I can have him on, actually.
Yeah, you need to do that.
Oh, I should. I mean, we do these things called sprints. Every 2 weeks we meet and we do what's called a sprint. And Matt sort of leads those discussions, and he says, okay, let's talk about how the last sprint went, what we did right, what we did wrong, what could we do better, what do we need to pick up from the last time, and then also, okay, what do we want to accomplish by the end of this sprint going into the next one? And that's how I've been able to get all this stuff done. I mean, it's just amazing how, this team has grown and how it's been so helpful for me and my brand, and most importantly, been able to help me help more people in the SPI audience. It's just so cool. I'm able to do a lot more now that I have other people helping me out. But I wasn't able to do that in the beginning. I didn't have the money in the beginning, so I started off small,
right,
and just sort of grown from there.
Yeah, and I think the sprints come from the agile
yes
way of running meetings and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's you're doing everything the right way now because you this is the journey. It's what I'm talking about. It's an entrepreneurial journey that we go on, and we unfortunately a lot of the lessons we learn the hard way by burning out and spinning our wheels a little bit. But once we get our groove going like you have now with ASPAT and with the rest of the stuff that you're doing with your team, it's a beautiful feeling. Not only does it feel great, but it grows your business at a ridiculous rate, a way faster rate than you would have been able to do it if you were trying to handle everything yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Chris. I mean, we could end the episode right there. But I do want to talk about your book a little bit. Your book is called Virtual Freedom. And I'm so excited for this because this is a book that everybody needs to read. It's about a lot of the things we talked about today, but in even more depth, more actionable items, more ways to help you and your business grow. But I want to talk about the book writing process because I know you're going to be real honest and upfront with this. And I'm going to be writing a book very soon, a traditionally published book, which is what you chose to do. Talk about how that process went. Like, when did the idea for this book come about, and how long has it taken to get to this point? What were some of the struggles and talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it was brutal, to be honest with you. I mean, and I am going to be real. It was probably one of the hardest things I've done in my career was to write a book. I was originally contacted about maybe 2.5 or so years ago to do something. And I was in the middle of really focusing in on building Virtual Staff Finder, which is our VA recruitment service company. And so I knocked it back. And quite frankly, the advance wasn't really worth a whole lot anyway. It just it wasn't much of an offer at all. But then late 2012, I was contacted again by another publisher. And at that point, I decided to get myself a literary agent and to put a proper proposal together and ship it out there to a few publishers and see whether or not this was just sort of a one-off kind of publisher just wanting to sort of ride on the back of my online platform, or whether there was genuine legs there as a potential book, project. And we put together the proposal and we sent it out to 16 publishers, and we had 4 offers within the space of like 2 to 3 weeks. And I couldn't believe that I got a 25% buy-in from actual publishing houses. Like that for me was
that's cool.
It was huge. It was the exact push that I needed to literally put pen to paper and start working on it pretty much immediately. And I remember speaking to you about it when I had signed late 2012, I think just before Christmas 2012. And you were super stoked for me and everything, but I didn't know at the time, because the excitement was there, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't know at the time how grueling of a journey it was going to be for me. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be the same for everyone who decides to sit down and write a book, because we're all in completely different situations. Remember that, right? So, here I am. I have 3 different businesses. I have 270 odd employees. I speak regularly. I travel regularly, mostly because of the speaking. I'm a father of 3 kids, a husband to a beautiful wife, and I also blog and podcast. So there's a lot on my plate. And then to sit down and say, okay, now I need to come up with 60,000 words for a book project by the middle of this year it was pretty daunting. And I did actually need an extension. I needed an extension on my initial deadline with the publishers because I just couldn't get it done in time. Plain simple. The thing was this. I love blogging. I love writing blog posts. I love sharing stories and my experience and my how-to knowledge for my audience. It's one of the most enjoyable things that I do as an entrepreneur. But writing a book is not like writing a bunch of blog posts and then sticking them all together. I found that out very, very, very quickly indeed. And it was a tough, grueling process. Now, as I got to the end of the manuscript and I was, ready after that extension, I promised myself I wasn't going to ask for another extension. So I really battened down the hatches and just went at it for about a week to finish the book on time. It went to the publisher with about 70,000 words, and we've eventually ended up cutting it down to about 62,000. So quite a bit was cut out. And I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons why that was, it wasn't because the content wasn't good. I think I just because I was sort of in major writing mode and I didn't break a whole lot for that last week, I think I just rambled. Plain simple. It wasn't concise enough.
Was it mostly the stuff that you wrote near the end that was cut out?
Yes, it was. Yes. And, there was other things like we've got some great case studies. We've got some what I call some freedom spotlights in there, which you're one of them. And, I wanted to make sure that I included them, and I actually over-delivered on those as well, which we ended up having to cut a number of case studies and spotlights out from the final manuscript because there just wasn't enough room. The good news is that we've saved them, and we're going to be giving them away as bonuses for people who end up buying bundles and all that sort of stuff, right, for the book. So they haven't gone to waste, but it was an entirely different process to the one that I thought it was going to be. And it was very grueling and very tiring. But once I got to the end of it, there was just an overwhelm. There was a tsunami of accomplishment and pride that I felt. And now, the moment it was done, it was done. Then the editing began, and that was a whole different process. And, you end up reading your book, 20, 30 times in certain sections. And then you end up not seeing the spelling errors or the grammatical errors because you're no longer reading, you're now skimming. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, God, I got to read this book again. I wrote the thing. Why am I reading it for like the 9th time this month? You know what I mean? It was just a nightmare. But it was a process that needed to be done. And you do need to do it. You can't escape it, particularly when you go the traditional publishing route, right? So I really, I had to get to the point where I just had to suck it up, quite frankly, and just close doors and lock myself away. And I actually ended, and this was a nice sort of twist to the whole story, I ended the entire process in exactly the same location that I began it in. When I wrote my proposal, so not even the first chapter or the introduction or anything, the actual proposal of the book, I wrote in the Radisson Blu Hotel here in Cebu City in the Philippines, in one particular room on their business class level. And for my final edit, I went back and I checked into the exact same room.
That's cool.
And finished the entire writing process for the book in that exact same room at that exact same desk. So I hope they change the sheets prior, that whole time sort of thing, the towels and stuff like that. But no, I ended the writing journey in exactly the same place that I started it. And it felt good. But then the book marketing planning started literally. I popped a cork and then boom, here we go. We got to start the book marketing now.
Right? That's where we are. You spend all this time writing a book, you're struggling with it, and then you have to edit it, and then it's done. And you can't just expect, it's going to sell at that point. You have to do a lot of work. And I know, we've been talking about this. You've been doing a lot. And we've had people like Jeff Goins on to talk about book marketing and things like that. And I love
that episode. I love that.
Yeah, that was we call it the Back to the Future episode. Because we recorded 2 sessions with Jeff, one before I did some stuff and one after, and we talked about that. Well, that was pretty cool. But anyway, can you give us some insight on some of the strategies that you're using? There's a ton of authors here and future authors here who are listening, and I think they would benefit a lot from, especially because, you're doing the traditional thing, and people will be interested in, okay, well, how do we get this book that we finished that we're proud of, that we know will help people? How do we get that into people's hands?
Right.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Obviously, I mean, we'll be honest and upfront. You're here on the show right now, and we're talking about it, and that's one thing. And I know you've been on, doing sort of a run on other people's podcasts as well. And so I know that's one strategy. Scheduling and trying to get other people who you have connections with, and even people who you don't have connections with, who have an audience in your target audience, to sort of all at once, talk about the book. I know that's one strategy. What else are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, that is, we call that the podcast tour.
The tour, yeah.
So, the tour. So it's around, I guess, probably by the time we're done, by the end of April. The book comes out April 1, which is today.
Well, based on our schedule. Okay. We're recording this in February.
Right.
For those of you listening.
So I'm not Marty McFly. I thought I was in the future for a minute. And now I'm here. I'm back in February. Yeah, so, no, I mean, the book comes out today, according to this recording, right? So going live, that is. So I wanted to do something more than just podcasts, because we probably could have left it literally at that and still sold a load of copies. Because if you get in front of influencers and thought leaders such as yourself and you talk about something, people will naturally buy. But I didn't want to leave it at that, because I also believe that people will come to their own assumptions and decisions based on their own opinions, right? We'll always believe our own opinions before the opinions of other people. But, there's something to be said to, being placed into the earbuds of tens of thousands, of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over a certain space of time. Mm-hmm. So the podcast was really the first thing that we worked on, the podcast tour, in terms of making sure that we could get on all of the shows that I really wanted to get on. And we haven't just blitzed it and said, let's just get on as many shows as possible. We've been very, very selective, because you also have to be extremely careful with your time around a launch like this as well. You don't want to burn out and end up kind of just spinning your wheels, right? So the podcast was one side of things. We're also doing a certain amount of guest posting, which I very rarely do. I will very, very rarely write a guest post for another blog. It's not in my strategy to do it. So we're on about 5 or 6 decent quality blogs as well in the next few weeks or so. So we did that. Then there's the the bundle strategy and the mini site strategy that we put together. And I wanted to do, I wanted to do a mini site. I didn't just want to have a landing page or two on my blog. I wanted to create, I want Virtual Freedom to have its own identity on the internet. So we put together virtualfreedombook.com. On there, we have, there's a cool animated video trailer for the book. There is a podcast. We're doing a limited podcast run for Virtual Freedom. You can find it in iTunes and everything. And then, there's also additional content on there as well about VAs and working with VAs. And there's a press page and, all this other sort of stuff as well. So we built that out and we put that up. And then, there's other things like, we actually are going to be doing some kind of a book signing tour in some capacity when I'm in the United States. There's a lot of speaking coming up, but there's been a lot of different things that we've done. Oh, I should mention also the Virtual Freedom Tribe, which we kind of run on the back of your success with the Let Go Day kind of ambassador group that you put together. Mm-hmm. That was such a cool idea. And I love the idea of having like a little bit of an inner circle, everybody kind of rooting for you at certain times and everything. And that was really cool. So we did that as well. But other than that, it's just a matter of just reaching out to people, being present. We've done a lot of, images that we're sharing on social media. And, I've changed the cover image for my Google and my Facebook page and my Facebook account and all that sort of stuff. And it's just generally just getting the word out there and just kind of just branding the book and getting the word out as much as possible,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely a lot of stuff, but I've seen it, and I've seen people mention the book. I've seen people tweet about it, and not just from you, but from other people out there who are,
I should hope so.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we are a month and a half before launch. At the time of recording this, when this goes live, of course, it'll be out there. And, it'll be interesting to see how high it goes. Because I know it can go high. I've read the book, and it's great. And so I think, when, obviously the product that you sell or the book that you create has to be good. Like if it's not good, it's never going to take off,
Yeah, and that was the other reason why I didn't want to do it earlier, because it wasn't that I didn't think I was experienced or qualified enough to write it. It was honestly because I didn't think I was a good enough writer to write it as well. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what 3 years of blogging can do for you in that particular side of things. And for me now, I love to write. I mean, I would honestly like to get it to the point where all I did as an entrepreneur was blog, write books, and speak. That trifecta of entrepreneurship is what I want to try and aspire to in the next 5 to 10 years, because I thoroughly enjoy the writing process. Now, I hated it for 5.5 months, but now I really enjoy it, and that's exactly the sort of the angle that I want to go with now going forward. Hopefully, if things will work out.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see what's in store for you in the future, Chris, and I couldn't be more proud, and I'm going to be here to support you all the way. So make sure, for those of you listening, head on over to virtualfreedombook.com. All the information you need is there to get Chris's book, and this is my buddy. I'm gonna ask you to support him if you believe in what he's talking about, and it's been extremely helpful for me. I know people who I've shared Chris with, not just with this book, but through his own blog at chrisducker.com, and of course Virtual Staff Finder. It's always you're changing lives, Chris. In your own special way. And you are the sort of king of virtual assistants and helping people learn how to outsource and change their lives in that way. It's changed mine for sure.
Thanks. I appreciate all the kind words. I mean, we're buddies and everything. Everybody knows that, but it's nice to hear that from not just from a friend. And we were talking about this before we hit record. I'm a Pat fan too. You know what I mean? Like I love saying that way because I know that it just hurts you every time I do it. It
hurts me every time you say it like that, Chris.
Okay, I'll do it like Pat for a minute. I literally, is that better? Okay,
not much.
Not much. I know. I literally only subscribe to a handful of podcasts. SPI is obviously one of them, and Ask Pat is another one. And it is probably, out of all the ones that I do subscribe to, probably the only one that I listen to verbatim with every episode that comes along. And it's not, first and foremost, it's because you're my very, very best friend, right? But the other thing is that it's just so darn good. Like your content, man, is just so good. I'm the biggest Pat fan. If people listening in, if you want to take me on with that title, I want you to take me on via Twitter at Chris Ducker. Tell me why you're a bigger Pat fan than me, because it's nice to be able to be friends and everything. But I'm a big fan of Pat, and to hear those words from you, bro, and just the way that you so eloquently put them together, it just it warms my heart up. So thanks very much for all the support. I want to say that publicly, and to the SPI crowd as well. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they are absolutely awesome, and we're here to support you, Chris. So thank you all for listening, Chris. Thank you so much for coming on and spending your time with us today. Best of luck to you at the launch. I'm sure we're going to hear about it in other places as well, and I can't wait to see how high it goes.
Yeah, you and me both, brother. Thanks again.
All right, bud. Peace. All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Chris Ducker, one of my best friends from chrisducker.com, and also brand new author of the book Virtual Freedom: How to Work with Virtual Staff to Buy More Time, Become More Productive, and Build Your Dream Business. As always, the show notes for this episode can be found at smartpassiveincome.com/session103. Chris, congrats to you. You are awesome, and I'm just so inspired to write my own book now after reading this and holding it in my hands. It's so cool. Now, you're even more awesome. And because, listen to this, everybody, Chris and I worked together. He wanted to give additional value to those who are listening to the SPI podcast, and I wanted to do that too. And I, of course, want to help Chris get to, sell as many books as possible. So here's the deal. If you buy one book, if you buy one of Chris's book, and you can, or you don't have to, but you can go through my affiliate link for that, which is smartpassiveincome.com/VF. If you get at least one book, you get the following. You get the book, whether it's paperback or Kindle. You get 3 additional case studies that aren't in the book. and then access to the reader-only section of the site. But beyond that, you get access to a free webinar that Chris and I are going to hold together, where I'm going to be talking about how I run with my virtual team and how Chris has helped me. So that's if you buy one book. And all you have to do is, if you buy one book via Amazon, again, whether or not you use my affiliate link, all you have to do is forward that receipt that Amazon sends you to giveaway@smartpassiveincome.com. That's giveaway@smartpassiveincome.com. You're going to get an immediate auto response from me with more information about how this is all going to work and the emails that you're going to get in the future for that webinar and all the other things that Chris is giving away. Now, if you buy 5 books or more, you can keep one and give the others to your friends or readers or subscribers. If you buy 5 books or more, you get not only the case studies in the reader-only section, but you get a Virtual Freedom Companion Handbook, exclusive video series, a mini training course to help you work with VAs. And also, this is the big one, you get $50 off working with Virtual Staff Finder to help you find your VA. So you're essentially getting the books for free if you use Virtual Staff Finder to hire your VA, your general VA. So that's a great deal. And again, you also get access to the webinar as well. So whatever the case may be, you buy 1 or buy 5 or more, send that receipt to giveaway@smartpassiveincome.com. I won't be able to respond there until I send you an email with registration information and all the links on how to get access to those giveaways and stuff. So Chris, thank you so much for that. As always, I try to get the people who are on here to give more value than what they can get than you can get elsewhere, because I'm just so thankful for you for being on the show. Now, I had a lot of people ask me in preparation or anticipation of this episode, Pat, is Chris's book going to be on your sponsors platform, audiobooks.com. And of course, audiobooks has been amazing. I've been listening to Adam Braun's book, who is in episode 102, his book, The Promise of a Pencil, and it's great. I love the platform. It is really, really easy to listen to books on the go. I listen to podcasts, but also books like Adam's book. Chris's book isn't yet on there as of this date, April 1st, but he and his publishers are working on it, so it'll eventually be there. And I hope you can get the free trial for audiobooks.com, a 30-day free trial. If you go to audiobooks.com/SPI, you get that. You get 1 free credit to download a book, whether it's Chris's book in the future or Adam's book from the last episode, whatever the case may be, any book really. And you get free access to listen to Let Go, my best-selling book, which isn't available in the audio format anywhere else except audiobooks.com. So again, that's audiobooks.com/SPI. And that'll get you all those goodies. A lot of goodies to give away here. And again, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show and providing a ton of value and also giving away a little bit extra here for everybody listening. You have until April 4th, the end of Friday, April 4th, to send me those receipts. Again, send those receipts for 1 or more books to giveaway@smartpassiveincome.com. You have till the end of Friday, April 4th to qualify for the webinar and also those giveaways and those everything I just mentioned. So Chris, thank you. For those of you listening, you are amazing. Thank you so much for all the support, and I will see you in the next episode of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. Thanks, take care, and all the best.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow, Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time-consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place, recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature, Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click, hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. Have you dreamt about being your own boss, but still haven't made the first steps to making that dream a reality? Well, I get that. Starting a business can feel super overwhelming with legal forms, paperwork, finances. It's a lot. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Taylor Brands. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal assets and the business assets separate from day one. From there, you get access to everything you need to get off the ground. Legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program, all designed to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, listeners of this show get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. All you have to do is head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.